Hi, welcome to this tutorial on how to connect to a database using JDBC driver on Netbeans. Now, before we get started, you need to have a few things in hand. First, you need to know the database name that you're using, the database username, the database password, and also the database server. Okay. Once you have all of this information, then you can follow up. Now, I have a few classes already created beforehand just to speed up the process of this tutorial. Basically, I just have a simple GUI here, which I will be using to enter the information and get the information back from the database. And another thing is I have already created a table on my database, which is called player. And this table has three particular information. The first one is the PID. The second one is the gamer tag, and the third one is the gamer score. Now, I've also created a class within my project called the player class, which has similar information as the table in the database. Now, I'm going to be using this class to create object, and whenever I pull information from the database, I'm going to store those informations to the object, and then I can then reuse the object whenever I want without having to go back to the database and pull the information again. Now, let's get started. The first thing is we need to connect to a database. So I'm going to be using a class called DB Manager, which will pretty much set up the connection between the database and allow me to do select queries and do update queries. So let's get started. So the first thing we need is a connection. So private connection, I'm going to call it con. Okay. And then I also have a few methods I've already created beforehand. So the first one is just setting the connection, and this one will be this dot con is equal to con. Okay. And the next one is for closing the connection. Now, it's always nice to close your connections when you're not really using the database. So in this case, the close connection method will do just that for us. So I'm going to say try. I'm going to say this.con.close. Okay, and semicolon, and I just have to catch the exception. Catch SQL exception, and I'm going to say, I'm just going to point out the error if we ever catch something, and let's say ex.get message. Okay, and that's basically our close connection method. The next one is we need to start working on our select query method. So basically, we're going to be passing a bunch of select query statements within our argument, and then this particular method is just going to do that and then return the results as a result set, and then we can then reuse those result sets whenever we want. Okay, so let's get started. So as always, try and catch. I'm going to create a statement equal to con.create statements. Okay, and then after that, I'm just going to create an object called result set is equal to statement dot execute query. Okay, and we're going to have query as an argument. Okay, so what am I missing? Right, I just have to finish the catch. Okay, so my exceptions are always the same, so I'm just going to copy that and put that here. Okay, and then once I execute my query, remember I still need to return those results, so I'm just going to say return or s. Okay, And if we catch an error, I'm just going to say return no. It's telling me I am missing a missing return statement. There we go. That problem solved. Now, and this pretty much concludes our select query. Okay. Now moving on to our update query. Now the update query can be either the create, alter, update, insert query that we actually do within a database. Okay, so like always, we're gonna do try catch exception, and I'm just gonna put that there. And here we're gonna say statement st say com dot create statement. Okay, and then after that we're just gonna say statements dot execute update. Okay, but this time we'll just do an update queries, and then here we're gonna say query. And then after we update a query, we just have to return and say, okay, this query has run perfectly, so return true. And if we come across an error, we just say return false, so that means something bad must have happened and the query didn't work. Okay, and basically that's pretty much it for the DB Manager class. Now remember, if you want to go through the codes again, just be sure to pause the video every now and then and just look over the code and see if there's anything you missed out or anything you need. Now back to our GUI class. Now I need to be able to add function for the login and the register. And basically the login will just do a simple select query, where the register we're going to do insert query into the database. Okay, so in the back here I already have a few things done up beforehand. I would like to do this from scratch, but regardless of the time, we don't have much. But basically what you need is a connection class or a connection attribute. Now the player, this is going to be something that represents the current player that is logged into the system or to the app, and then the DB manager is just going to be an instance of a DB manager to connect to the database. Okay, now remember, all the information regarding your database, you're going to need that. So for the DB server, you're going to need your DB host name. But before that, make sure you add this particular part first, and then after you add that, then you can paste your DB host name right here, and then put a / at the end for the DB server. Okay, and then the DB name is just the DB name. The DB user will be the same as well for the DB user, and then the password for the database, in my case, is just this guy here. And then for the driver, it's exactly as what I have here, so you need to have something similar to this as well. Okay, and also make sure you have the JDBC driver inside your project library. So if you right click on your project, you go to properties, you go to libraries, make sure you click on add library. If you don't have this, click add library and make sure you select this guy within the library. So if you go to add library and you look for Msql JDBC driver, you just add that to your library and you should have it here. Okay, and once you have that done, then we'll move on to the next step. So in this part here, I'm just creating the object. Okay, then after that, I'm setting up my connection. Okay, so you're going to do your try and catch again. This time we're going to say con is equal to driver manager get connection, and then inside the connection you pass in the arguments DB server plus the DB name, comma DB user, and then the DB password. Okay, and then after that you go to your manager class and then you set the connection. Okay, and then the manager class will have this connection, and then you can just catch the error if there was ever any error. Okay, now moving on to the login method. Now I'm going to do this pretty quick. First I'm going to do a query. Remember, the login query will be just a select statement, so I'm going to say string query, and I'm going to say select star from the player table. Okay, and I'm going to say where the gamer tag. Remember, in my player class I have a gamer tag right there. Okay, so I'm going to search the user by the gamer tag instead. So I'm going to say where gamer tag is equal to, I'm going to do this and say close name and semicolon. Okay, and then we can just run a query. But first I want to say manager dot select query, and we run the query. Now remember, the query returns a result set. Okay, so I need to store that to something. So I'm going to say result set rs is equal to manager that select query. Is that alright? And then here I'm going to do a try and catch to go through my results. Remember, the catch is always going to be the same, so I'm just going to copy this catch and I'm going to put it there. And then here I'm going to say, if I remember correctly, I'm going to say while, oh, actually I'm going to say if rs.next. Okay, if rs.next, then I'm going to say return true, and else return false. Now remember, this is a Boolean type, so I'm just checking to see if I'm logged in or not. So if I am logged in, then I'll say true. If I'm not logged in, then I'll say false. Or if I get an error, I'm still going to say false as well. Okay, and I can get rid of this guy here. And now if I'm logged in, I want to be able to store that information within a player object. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say car player set gamer tag. Okay, set gamer tag, and this will be equal to os the result set dot get string, and I want to get the gamer tag position 2. Now this position 2 doesn't necessarily mean like the second information that I have. It just means that within my my columns, sorry, within my rows, the first rows that I have, the second column will be the information that I want. So this will be like the one of the row, and then on the second column will be the gamer tag of that particular row. So when I say number 2, I basically just mean on the first row get position 2, which is the gamer tag, and then get that information stored into this. Okay, and then I'm going to say car player set PID, and I'm going to say integer parse int, and this time I'm going to say os that gets string. Actually, I wonder if there is a get int that get, oh, there is get int, and I'm going to say get int at 1, and I won't be needing this. Okay, and then here I'm going to say curve player again that get, sorry, set gamer score, and I'm going to say os that get int, and this will be a position 3. Remember, position 3 is the gamer score, the position 1 is the gamer tag, and sorry, position 1 is the PID, and the position 2 is the gamer tag. So just remember your positions. Okay. And once I have that, that will be it. So that means whenever I have a next element on my results, I can just get those information and store into my current player, and then that will be my current player. Okay. Now inside my login, I already have a few methods, but I'm just going to scrap that and do it all over again. So if login, and this will be the name field, the name text field that get text. Okay, and if it's equal to true, so that means I'm logged in, and then else I'm not logged in. Okay, so if it's true, I'm just going to say J option pay, show message dialog, and I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say here welcome per player.get gamer tag. Okay, say welcome, and I'm just going to say user name. Now the username is just a label within my GUI. I'm going to say set text, and I'm going to say cur player get gamer tag. Okay, and then else I'm just going to pop out a J option pane that will say login failed. Okay. So please try again. Okay. Yeah, just say please try again. So that's that part done, and let's test out the application. Okay, so if I leave it blank, it should say login fail. So login fail, please try again. If I use a name, which I know is already there, which is Benny, I'll say welcome Benny, and it changed the name to Benny right there. So that's the label I was talking about, the username label. So that's it there. Okay. So that's that part done. So we know our select query is working. So let's try and do an insert query. Okay. So we're going to say we're going to be inserting a player element, and we're going to run a query. Okay, and it's going to be an insert query. So I'm going to say insert into player values. I'm going to say null. Now I'm going to say null for the PID because when I created my table, I said the PID will be auto incremented, so I don't have to provide a value for that. I can just say null and it automatically generate one for me. Okay, and then the next one I'm going to say p.get gamer tag, and add that, and then at the end I'm going to say p.get gamer score. Okay, semicolon, and close brackets as always. Never forget your closing brackets. And once you have that done, then all you need to do is say manager. Now, yeah, I'm going to say manager dot update query, and we're passing query and put it there. Now remember, the update query returns boolean, okay, true or false. So I want to make sure that I find out if the information went in or not. So I'm going to say boolean d is equal to manager update query. Okay, and then here I'm just going to do an if statement to check d if it's true or if it's false. Okay, and else. And then I'm gonna pull J option pane. Now, if it's true, I'm just gonna say register success, registered successfully. Okay. Else I'm gonna say failed. Failed. Please try again. Is that right? Just to make sure that the query is perfect, otherwise it's going to give us an error saying that you have a syntax error. So that's everything there. Now let's go to login, so the register action perform, and call the register method. This is when we register need a player class, so a player object. So I'm going to say player j new player, and then I'm going to say obj is equal to obj.set set gamer tag is equal to name field dot get text, and then obj set gamer score, and that will be just 0, and then I can say obj will be the argument. Okay, and then that should allow us to add any player that isn't registered. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, so we know Benny is there. Okay, well, let's see if there's another name that isn't there. Kenny. So login failed, please try again. So we know Kenny isn't there. Okay, so we're going to use Kenny to register. Okay, so at the moment it keeps giving me a login fail. So if I click on register, the next time I click login with Kenny, it should say login successful and change the name to Kenny. Okay, so register. So register successfully. And if I say login, and I say welcome Kenny, and there, and that's our insert method done. So it's not too hard to actually connect to a database and work around this. And then I also have a last method, which pretty much is just check to see if I clicked on the X button on the app. So if I click on, if I can show you now. So if I click on this particular X button here, it will automatically call in a method. And then, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my connection every time I exit my app. Okay, so I'm just going to say manager that close con, and that will close the connection. Okay, so the method pretty much is a window closing, and it's a window event. So if I close the window, then just close that connection, so that we don't accidentally start like doing more updates when we run the app at a different time. Okay, and that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I hope this helped you out in some way, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment, and I will try and get back to you. Thanks for watching.